Let's jump to this first story from the National Review. Anthony Fauci plans to step down in December. That's it. He wrote a big, long thing saying, I will be leaving these positions in December of this year to pursue the next chapter of my career. He's 81. What's the next chapter of your career? I mean, I'm trying to be a dick or anything, but it's like, bro, get your rocking chair, sit on your porch, rock back and forth with a nice sweet tea, and enjoy your sunny days, man. But he's saying he's still got a lot to do. Now, the big thing here is, let me see if I have it pulled up. Newsweek writes, Fauci resigning out of fear of GOP investigations, say Republicans. In December, Fauci will forfeit his roles as the chief of the NIAID, Laboratory of Immunoregulation, and President Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, saying he wants to pursue the next chapter of my career. Republicans believe Fauci is leaving government due to the possibility that the GOP will take control of the House in November. Quote, Dr. Fauci is conveniently resigning from his position in December before House Republicans have an opportunity to hold him accountable for destroying our country over these past 3 years. The Republican rep Andy Biggs of Arizona tweeted, adding that Fauci will be held accountable whether or not he remains in public office. This guy is a coward. Well, maybe that's the case, but if he's not actively in government and they start investigating him, it won't disrupt whatever those institutions are actually doing. So either way, this move will absolutely help Joe Biden's administration over the next couple of years and the NIAID. But I'm curious, Joe, considering you're actually, Surgeon General, you're like the top doctor of Florida, right?
As crazy as it sounds. I mean, I have to pinch myself. I'm literally the top doctor of Florida, which is kind of nuts.
Well, what do you think about this? You think his resignation is just career stuff? What do you think about Fauci?
Well, I think Dr. Fauci is creepy guy, to be totally honest. He gives me the creeps. I think that he is enigmatic of a physician who is really more of a politician and more about, sort of agendas than about health. I mean, that's been very obvious with how he handled the pandemic. Not a single word, right? You have a condition where obesity is a major risk factor. Did he ever say, hey, Americans, by the way, lose weight if you're overweight, get some exercise? I didn't hear that out of his mouth.
He did once say vitamin D, though. He did say vitamin D is important.
He did say that once, and he said that once. Right?
Never again.
Once. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the creepiest thing to me about a lot of this is that during the pandemic, people had pointed out quite extensively vitamin D, getting sunlight, getting exercise, getting fresh air, and these things were really important. But this was never the official guidance. It was never the narrative. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Stay inside. Yeah. Don't go outside. And in big cities, they locked everybody in their homes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, there's some controversy over vitamin D, but it's not killing anyone. So it was the right thing to do.
What's the vitamin D controversy?
Well, it's, vitamin D is very mysterious because there is study after study that shows that if you have low levels of vitamin D, you're at higher risk for everything. Depression, high blood pressure, cancer, you name it, infection. But the clinical trials have not usually shown what the other studies have shown. Not all of them, though. Some of them have shown a reduction in infection, actually, with vitamin D pre-pandemic. But it's very interesting. The studies go both ways. And what gets me, actually, is that, maybe it doesn't work, but there's a class of doctors who are just rabid about trying to stop people from using medications that are low risk and are uncertain. Well, they just want to keep saying, no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. There was actually I don't want to get too nerdy, but fluvoxamine is a medication that had a couple clinical trials that showed benefit in COVID. And I recommended it, I recommended it to patients because there was data. But, another trial just came out that didn't find a benefit. And the writers at the New England Journal of Medicine slammed this medication. But the problem is the medication was dosed at like 50% of the dose that worked. So how can you slam them? How can you conclude that something doesn't work when you're not even dosing it right? But they're just crazy about concluding things don't work and telling people not to use stuff.
What was the one you just mentioned?
Fluvoxamine.
Fluvoxamine. What is that?
Actually, it's a medication for like anxiety. And it just so happens that one of the ways it works is on a receptor that is also needed by the virus. So a few clinical trials have shown that it benefits people.
But so this is not an official treatment. It's not approved or anything like that.
It's not an official treatment. The FDA actually reviewed it recently, and they decided not to give it the thumbs up. And, that was criticized by some advocates of the medication. And, the FDA, it wasn't that they didn't make the right decision, but they took forever to make the decision. And this thing, we could have had the answer to this like 2 years ago, literally. But there was very little interest in treatment during the pandemic, as many people know.
There's several treatments that have become, notorious, and YouTube explicitly bans people for advocating for and things like that. The strange thing to me about a lot of it is if the argument was always talk to your doctor, why is it that if a doctor recommends something publicly, it's unacceptable and it's bannable? Look, I understand this. There's a lot of crazy people saying a lot of crazy things online. And I can understand there's a fear that during a pandemic, someone's telling you to do something wacky or wild, and they want to control that, but you can't. That's the thing. Like you literally can't. You've got a bunch of doctors who are like, I'm a doctor, here's what I recommend, and they're like, you're banned. And it's like, but Fauci's not practicing. Is that correct? Like he wasn't practicing for 30 years?
I don't think he still sees patients, certainly not actively or frequently.
So the issue I take with Fauci over the past several years, notably during the peak of the pandemic, was the wishy-washiness, the flip-flopping, which he justified as, the science is changing.
Oh, gosh. He'll justify anything. That guy, he's so slippery and slick. He's completely dishonest. It's ironic that so many Americans trust him, and he is probably one of the least trustworthy doctors I've ever, observed in my life.